and we're going to be talking about cryptocurrency, talking about NFTs, talking about things that I don't even know how to talk about them.
Well, everyone understands ACH transactions. It's so traditional. It has been around for years and years. Stablecoin is a brand new approach, and a lot of our realtors do not understand what it's all about and how it's going to affect them, how it's going to affect their commission.
Bitcoin, came out about 12 years ago in 2009. At the time of this taping, is right around $30,000 per Bitcoin. It's been as high as I think around $69,000 per Bitcoin. The thing that's the most interesting about cryptocurrency, and especially Bitcoin, is there were 21 million coins produced, and that's it. And as the years go by, there are less and less current coins in the currency, the value goes up. The one thing I always tell realtors, it's not as complicated as you think. And don't get hung up on the technology, but just think of more of the psychology of it. And the thing that I can tell realtors as it relates to cryptocurrency and blockchain is you haven't missed out on anything yet.
Welcome to the Top Real Estate Influencers podcast with your hosts, Alex Montalenti and Mario Hurley. We are well into a couple seasons now. We're happy to have you on the show. And today we've got special guests. This is the first time we do this. We've got a total of 4 people on this podcast episode. It's going to be a roundtable conversation, and we're going to be talking about cryptocurrency, talking about NFTs, talking about things that I don't even know how to talk about them, but I'm sure a lot of you would love to learn about this new subject. We've got into the metaverse a little bit on some episodes. We haven't gotten into crypto and Bitcoin and NFTs and courses on getting certified in all of this. So I'm excited to talk about that with Adam Brown and Lucy Edwards. And first I want to introduce Lucy. Lucy's a longtime friend. She is somebody who has been in the industry for as long as I can remember. Seen her at so many trade shows. We've become friends. We've worked together. She's been in photo. She's been in video. She's been in technology. She now has her own series called Lunch with Lucy, where she invites industry professionals to talk about the real estate industry. And that's how she came across Adam here. So tell us a little bit about Adam, Lucy.
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. And actually, Adam was my guest at Lunch with Lucy, so that was amazing. And Adam is a long-time professional in real estate. He has been in real estate for over 25 years. He understands all the pains that realtors are going through. He totally gets it. What's also great about Adam, he is a VP of development for Proppy. And I was at his conference, about a month and a half ago. Extremely interesting. And it was in Miami, and Miami is really pushing for crypto. As a matter of fact, so much that Miami MLS is introducing the course. And Adam is playing a big role in putting the course together at Miami MLS. So Adam, it's a pleasure to be here with you. That is our 3rd show together. So I'm very excited, and we can talk about, and that is my 3rd show together, my conference, and I still have a lot of questions to ask. So we can begin. So let's start with Bitcoin. You mentioned that last year, almost 12% of first-time buyers purchased the property or used Bitcoin in a purchase. Can we touch base on that?
Yeah, Redfin had a study that 12% of new home buyers leverage some sort of cryptocurrency for their transaction. And that was an interesting stat for us, higher than I would have guessed. Although Bitcoin's had a rough couple of weeks. So those people are probably holding on to them pretty tight right now, waiting for it to come back up. But the Redfin stat was over 12% of new home buyers use some sort of crypto to buy their last home.
And how safe it is, and what do sellers and buyers say about that? Let's say if the buyer has a desire to purchase something with crypto, or maybe have a partial payment with crypto, but the seller does not understand, don't feel comfortable. How you deal with that?
Well, in the market up until the last couple of weeks, the buyer was told to go fly a kite because it was a seller's market, and we all know that sellers make the rules. So I think as the market comes back to a normal absorption rate, you're going to see buyers have a little bit more influence in terms of how they transact wallet to wallet. I think there's so many reputable exchanges out there that change, fiat to crypto or vice versa, that I don't think it's ever going to be an issue. I think the interesting part for me is to see how real estate evolves into stable coins. I think that's going to be really interesting to kind of get away from ACH payments using stable coin for real estate transactions. Are we, 18 months away from that? Are we 5 years away from that? But that's kind of one of the emerging interesting pieces from my perspective.
Well, everyone understands ACH transactions. It's so traditional. It has been around for years and years. Stablecoin is a brand new approach, and a lot of our realtors do not understand what it's all about and how it's going to affect them, how it's going to affect their commission. Everyone is worried about the commission. So will it affect their commission, or it doesn't really matter?
It doesn't matter too much. It will help deals close quicker, which I think a lot of realtors do appreciate that because it's best for the homeowner. But the stable coin is just a version of currency to transact that would be relatively easy. The thing that we like about the wallet to wallet is it reduces a lot of the ACH wire fraud, which in real estate, unfortunately is a pervasive issue that realtors have to deal with.
We already have
Let me just interrupt for a second here. I think we're getting advanced for a lot of our listeners. I mean, what the hell is crypto?
You tell me. Cryptocurrency is I guess we'll start with the basics. Bitcoin, came out about 12 years ago, 2009. A group of people created Bitcoin, which was the first ever cryptocurrency, kind of the OG cryptocurrency. Right now, each coin at the time of this taping is right around $30,000 per Bitcoin. It's been as high as I think around $69,000 per Bitcoin. The thing that's the most interesting about cryptocurrency, and especially Bitcoin, is there were 21 million coins produced, and that's it. And as the years go by, there are less and less current coins in the currency. The value goes up. The scarcity of Bitcoin is very actually real, as opposed to traditional currencies where you print more money, mine more gold, et cetera, et cetera. But it's the value of Bitcoin that kind of kicked off the crypto markets. And it's built on what's called blockchain. And I talk to realtors every day, all day. The one thing I always tell realtors, it's not as complicated as you think. And don't get hung up on the technology, but just think of more of the psychology of it. And realtors, realtors kind of fall into two buckets. I feel like technology, there's an abundance of bucket where they all are all in and they grasp it and they run with it. It's their whole new marketing mantra. Then there's a scarcity bucket. I don't know anything about that. It's too late. I'm not going to learn about it. And the thing that I can tell realtors as it relates to cryptocurrency and blockchain is you haven't missed out on anything yet. It's still the right time to learn. It's still very, very early. The amount of people actually purchasing with Bitcoin is very low. So what you want to have is enough depth of knowledge as it relates to crypto and blockchain to attract those types of buyers and sellers, to be able to have just an intelligent conversation with them. You don't need to know everything about crypto and blockchain. Just know the basics. And then we here at Property have trained over 1,000 agents with our crypto certification training. And so we want agents to be fluent enough to attract kinds of buyers and sellers. But if they do kind of get that hardcore buyer or seller who wants to really go in the weeds about cryptocurrency, we always tell them to reach out to us and we'll hop on a Zoom with their buyer or the seller to walk them through that process.
Okay. What about titles and mortgage? And is that going to stay in place? Will that change somehow?
It's an interesting question. So I don't know how much to bore you with this, but so I guess if we think about title and escrow, let's kind of do maybe a 2 minutes on what blockchain is. This is the question I think that most people have the most confusion around, because cryptocurrency, I mean, since the days of Columbus, people have been trading, buying and selling currency, whether it was the Spanish galleon versus Spanish dollar versus the pound, whatever it might have been. People have traded currencies for hundreds of years, so it's not that new of a premise. But the blockchain is really the new technology that I think will impact real estate the most. And what blockchain is it's a digital distributed ledger that's immutable or basically foolproof, that any sort of transaction or record keeping can go on for the whole world to see. There's a lot to unpack right there. So it's a digital ledger keeping system that's foolproof. And I don't want to get too deep in the weeds with the nodes and why it makes it work, but think of it as I put something onto the blockchain. In your mind, think of 10, 20, 30, 1,000 different computers validate that Adam put that data on the blockchain. We put it on the chain, it's there, and it's you don't have the ability to take it off chain or erase it. The next piece of data, whatever that might be, puts on the chain behind it. And so you have these packets of data on this chain, and they're unable to take them off the chain. And so the best analogy I can give is think of it as I built a 10 by 10 wall of Legos. You can't go right in the middle of that wall and take a Lego out because the Legos before it and after it, below it and above it have locked it into place. And that's kind of the data on blockchain. Think of it as digital data that's on chain, that's transparent, and it's foolproof. And so if you really want to make it super simple, think of it as the county tax records when you close on a house. It gets put into the ether. It's on a custodial site where you can get that data. Blockchain is similar to that, except there is no custodian. Once anyone puts something on chain, the world can see it. You don't have to wait for the county recorder's office to put it on chain. The county recorder's office could theoretically take stuff off of their database. But with blockchain, once it's on there, the world can see it. And it's just basically a digital distributed ledger.
So let me bring a little bit of context here. What we just lost Lucy. Did somebody kick her out?
No.
Okay. So I also understand that cryptocurrency or blockchain is decentralized. It is not backed by banks. Is that correct?
Decentralized is a funny word, as the people who are holding UST figured out last week. For the most part, it's decentralized and non-traditional. So is your crypto holdings backed by the FDIC? No. So it's decentralized in that aspect. A lot of people use the term decentralized in a lot of different ways. But if you look at kind of Terra and Luna, there was a group behind it that were working actively on the daily. They were a bit centralized in the terms of basically it was a company running that. But if you look at more of like an Ethereum or a Bitcoin, there is no Bitcoin company that's truly decentralized.
Gotcha. But banks are not associated. Like you don't go to your bank to deposit money into your crypto wallet, for example.
There is no FDIC to bail us out if there's a run.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've started researching a lot on this, and I found a lot of documentaries on people who are like basically techies, and they were able to scam people out of their Bitcoins, millions and billions. And I also have many examples, including myself, where I had bought some coins 10, 12 years ago, and then I forgot that I had a wallet because it was worthless, basically. And I wish I didn't lose it, because now it probably was worth $10,000, $20,000. And
that's real.
That's real, exactly. So for the folks that are here, let me tell you a little bit about our audience, our community. Some of our folks, when we tell them, do you have a strong online presence? And we say, do you have a Google business page? They say, what is a Google business page?
Yeah.
So we are the kind of company that we want to bring everyone to the next level, and we're happy to go back to the basics. And since Alex and I are both in Miami, it's great. It's very relevant since the transactions are starting, as Lucy mentioned, it's getting hot in Miami. So can you tell us a little bit about what about this market makes people more into it? Are they more tech savvy? Is it the money attraction? Is it the speed of it? What's happening?
Yeah, Miami, without a doubt. I don't say this lightly because I'm not in Miami, but Miami, without a doubt, is the crypto capital of the world, and it's not even debatable. New York will try to claim it, but it's not. There's a multitude of reasons why. I think a lot of people take lightly that Miami was a huge banking city before crypto. Most Latin and South American banks had major hubs in Miami for a lot of reasons. So it already had a finance background. A lot of people overlook that. And if you look at even the University of Miami, Raymond James out of Florida, it's a very financially tech savvy part of the country, more than people think. So you had that. You had the original Ethereum kind of final house that they coded Ethereum in was in Miami. Cryptocurrency really is a global phenomenon. It's really heavily influenced by Europe, which if you're coming from Europe, Miami makes a lot of sense. And then, the mayor of Miami is extremely crypto friendly. The state is extremely crypto friendly. You have a diverse, intellectually curious group in Miami. I spent a lot of time in Miami. It really is one of the most wonderful, beautiful melting pots in the world. Truly is. So you have kind of an intellectually curious crowd to start with. And I think one of the big factors is, the state income tax laws in Miami are advantageous. The corporate tax laws in Miami are advantageous. Plus, it's freaking Miami. Like, it's not hard to say, hey, let's all get together. We can go to Des Moines. We can go to Indianapolis or Miami. Where do you guys want to go? Like, it's Miami. The beaches are beautiful. The beaches are beautiful. The weather's beautiful. The people are beautiful. It's just a great city all around. So kudos to South Florida for being the crypto capital of the world.
There we go. That's nice.
That's a long answer to a short question. I love Miami.
It felt good, man. You were stroking our egos there because we love Miami as well.
100%. I get a question.
Go ahead.
I know that it's. I love that you said it's a crypto capital of the world. I know they're doing all the big conferences. Welcome back, Lucy.
Sorry about that.
Lucy was just waiting. She just got a big Bitcoin transfer came in. She had to go accept that.
Yeah, I just bought a house with Bitcoin.
And I know they just did this thing with a mechanical bull in Miami, and they're really pushing it. My question is, I hear a lot of talk about this NFT. Can you explain that? What is the concept of NFT and how would we use that in real estate?
Yeah, so NFT is an acronym for non-fungible token, which means something that's not commoditized, something unique, and not, if you look at a stack of bricks, they're all pretty fungible. They're very similar, not unique. Non-fungible means something that's completely unique. And so to unpack how it impacts real estate, let's kind of unpack how it impacted just kind of the pop culture NFT art craze, which down in Art Basel, down in Wynwood, they had their first NFT collection. Miami's also got a great, vibrant art scene that people underestimate. Don't sleep on Miami in terms of culturally. South Florida is pretty nice down there. So Wynwood is probably one of my favorite neighborhoods in the entire country, if not world. But enough stroking people from Miami's ego. But so if you look at the NFT, it's a non-fungible token. The interesting thing about that is blockchain has allowed us to digitally prove ownership in real time using the chain. And so a really silly example is if I took a selfie of all four of us, before blockchain, I would have had to print the picture off and send it into the archives, whoever at the time made you ownership of certain digital images, but it was a process, mail it in, et cetera, et cetera. Now we could just mint that instantly on blockchain. And basically blockchain would say, hey, Adam took this image, he owns it, and into perpetuity, I can prove to anyone in the world, I took this selfie of us, I minted it on blockchain, here is my ownership rights. And so all of a sudden, you had a lot of artists who said, okay, if I can prove ownership of these digital assets, I can prove it on blockchain, and using smart contracts and blockchain, I can sell them to people. And then if they stay on chain, I can resell them and get recurring revenue every time they sell them on the secondary market. It opened up this world of digital contracts through NFT to be really incorporated into sales of these digital assets. And so it's pretty exciting. So if you look at all the digital NFT world, it's just exploded. But it's really the ability to sell these things through smart contracts and on the blockchain that made that possible. And so we at Property were the first company to ever NFT homes. We actually did a couple there in not South Florida, up in the Tampa, St. Pete area. But what we did is we NFT'd the home, placed it into a corporate structure, NFT'd that entire corporate structure, and then the seller would just take their funds directly from the buyer's wallet, and the ownership of that NFT would transfer within minutes, not the normal, 30 plus days. So that was the first NFT ever sold in the US. It's really exciting. There's a lot of really interesting aspects to it. As of right now, it's not for every buyer or seller. But when we look at that, and to be the first to ever do something in real estate is pretty interesting. But we think there are a lot of legs because a couple things. One is the transparency of that home sale through NFT is unparalleled. And the ability for the buyer and seller to operate within that transparency, but on their own timetables is pretty interesting.
Well, it's huge. Can you tell us more about how that came about? That sounds like an amazing story. It should be in a Netflix episode or something.
Well, our CEO, Natalia, she absolutely could be, I think of her a lot as like Elon Musk of real estate. She has these $1 million ideas every day. She's brilliant, really, really brilliant.
She's Russian?
She's actually there. She's Bulgarian, but she's there in South Florida.
Okay.
She actually lives in your guys' neighborhood. She lives in Coral Gables. So she moved to Miami because she's the crypto capital. But when we NFT the house, the seller gets the house ready to sell. They place it into a corporate structure. In Florida, we use an LLC. They get a title and escrow paperwork saying the house is owned free and clear. They get paperwork that sells that the LLC they just place it into doesn't have any debt. They get an appraisal, they get an inspection, they can get multiple inspections if they choose to. And then they just bundle all this into the NFT package and mint it. And then they're done. So if I want to sell my house as an NFT on June 1st, at the end of the day on June 1st, I'm going to get my funds. Now, from the buy side, it's really interesting because I can look at the house. I know it's going to be for sale June 1st. I can maybe tour the house. I can register to buy the house. Once I register to buy the house, I can look at the inspection report, the appraisal. I can look at the house itself. I can pull all the data on it. I can look at the title and escrow documents that say the title of the house is owned free and clear. There's no funding business going on. No one has any liens against the house. And so from both sides, you approach the transaction with 100% transparency. Now, if I want to buy that house on June 1st, I submit my offer. If the offer is accepted, I own the house within minutes, wallet to wallet transfer. I take my stablecoin crypto, transfer it to the seller through the smart contract. There's a lot of things that happen. I'm simplifying a bit, but they prove ownership of the NFT to me. And then our property title and escrow company would then send traditional docs to the new buyer and the seller, but the actual ownership transfers an NFT in real time.
Wow. So that sounds, correct me if this is not accurate, but that sounds more like an investment venue more than like somebody who wants to have a family home.
No, our first NFT was a family home. Woman bought the house. She had crypto holdings, bought it in Ethereum. She didn't move in the next day, but she had her team the next day and they're looking at the house for painting and et cetera, et cetera. The second home that we NFT'd it's actually a husband and wife team who are real estate agents who they're an interesting group. It's Ryan and Gabriel Chanel. They actually do short-term housing. They bought the condo because they wanted to turn it into short-term housing. They were not overly crypto savvy. So they set up a wallet, puts their funds in there, bought the house, and now that condo is part of their short-term corporate housing stable or group of houses. Interesting. But I think it'll be so the benefit of it is if I know I have to move, let's say I was to move to South Florida, I have teenagers, I could only move in the summer. Any houses that were coming up as NFTs, I know the day they come up as an NFT, I could buy them and instantly take ownership. So there's a lot of value to that versus the traditional 45 to 60 days where I put an offer in, a lot of back and forth that goes on. I don't know if I'm going to get the house. Maybe the inspection doesn't come back to what I think it would be, or maybe they're not willing to work with me on things. So the NFT is, if I want to buy the house on June 1st and actually move, it's up for sale. I can look at all the docs. I could take a look at it. I can take the inspection report. If that's the right house for me, I can buy it and move in June 2nd.
So that's the benefit on an NFT speed of transaction. What's the benefit on using if I had the equal amount of dollars or Bitcoin, why would I choose to pay for a property with Bitcoin? Like, what's the benefit to the Bitcoin owner?
It's just personal preference. I mean, you're still going to pay taxes the same. You're still not going to have any, you're not going to fool the government on if you sell something in Bitcoin and you get more Bitcoin, you're still going to pay capital gains, et cetera. It's just personal preference. Lack of ACH helps with wire transfer. But in terms of cryptocurrency, just the value of cryptocurrency, the tokens, those won't be what I would consider game changers in real estate, because whether they're paying cash, traditional financing, crypto, like Yogi Berra said, money is almost the same as cash, something like that. It's very similar. It's the blockchain and the NFTs with the speed to market, the speed to close, and with 100% transparency that will help.
So here, I just playing devil's advocate. I'm curious.
Yes, do it.
Like, what if you're about to buy a house, right? And like, I'm going to close tomorrow, and Bitcoin drops from 50K to 30K just before I go buy. I mean, at that point, would I just not choose to use Bitcoin? I would probably,
you would only
use cash.
So from a buyer's perspective, if they're holding a bunch of coins, they're used to this kind of wacky, volatile world. But to your point, which is a good point, if I'm a seller and you're wanting to buy my house in cryptocurrency, and I'm a guy who I'm going to sell a house for $1 million, and if we put that Bitcoin in escrow 24 hours ahead of time and it dropped 6%, that's 60 grand. It's a lot of money. So what we would do, and what title companies do, what everyone's doing, is they're using stable coins that are backed by real money. So they're using USDT or USDC. So when you put theoretically your $1 million into a stable coin, it stays pegged to the US dollar. And it's you probably heard about the UST fiasco last week by Luna, Terra. That was a stable coin that wasn't pegged to real assets. It was pegged to a different cryptocurrency. It was basically what's called an algorithmic stable coin, which is completely different. Whereas USDT is backed by gold, cash, and treasury bonds. So it's backed by real money, which, listen, still deals with inflation, but it's backed by hard assets, whereas UST wasn't. So if I was a realtor and I had a buyer who wanted to buy with crypto, I would totally tell my seller, hey, that's fine. We're going to do two things. We're going to write the contract to say that you're going to pay me in stable coin the equivalent of X amount of US dollars at the time of closing. And two, you're only going to pay me in stable coin. Now, if I'm a seller, any volatility the buyer has to deal with is on his end. No different than if I was holding $1 million worth of Netflix stock last week, and then all of a sudden it took a huge hit. Like, it's very similar in that sense.
Got it. That helps. Thanks. So now, why are you into all this? Where did you get into this?
It's a long and boring story, so I won't bore your listeners with it. This is my 25th year in real estate. All I've ever really done is sell into realtors and brokerages. And so I ran a home warranty company down in South Florida. Actually, it's how I know it so well. And we dealt with most of the major brokerages across the country. And then when I left there, I had a gentleman that we know really well within the industry said, hey, listen, there's this really interesting company that's dealing with some things with crypto and blockchain. I've dealt with blockchain this is probably my 4th year of kind of being heavy on blockchain. If you look at those diagrams where two circles kind of come together and that overlap part, it's called a Venn diagram. The part of crypto and blockchain that really interests me are the part that deals with real estate. A lot of the other pieces of it, are a little bit less interesting. I don't go down these rabbit holes of which chain is the best, but how people buy and sell homes is kind of what I'm passionate about. And I look at the way blockchain is so transparent and so immutable. And if you look at it on a global scale, And title and escrow here in the States is bulletproof. Like you very rarely have an issue. But there are places in the world where you can buy a home, then a year later, someone knocks on your door and says, actually, this is my house. My grandparents owned it. And I happen to be a warlord now. I'm going to take over this house. Thanks for coming. And that's a real thing. There's $7 trillion worth of land across the globe that has no verified owner. And if you look at it at a global scale, blockchain could solve that really easily. Now, enforcing who owns it once you prove ownership is a whole different story, but there's a lot of use for it across the world, globally, and in a lot of countries where we take for granted the ability to pass down generational wealth through real estate. That's where blockchain probably gets me the most excited.
Cool. Mario, what are you got some deep questions? Hit up Adam with?
Yeah, no, the bottom line, I'm looking right now at our, let's say 40 to 60% of our clients that we work with that are passionate about real estate. They've been in the game for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And they're not tech savvy. So what would be because if I'm been in the industry for 30, 40 years, I don't want to say, oh, well, that's too much for me. I want to be able to keep playing. So what would be like a journey that you would recommend to them? Like, yes, you can do it. How would you recommend for them to gradually get into this?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've been in the industry long enough. I was at a company, this would have been 10, 12 years ago, and I used to give classes to realtors on what social media was, maybe a little longer than that. And you guys know this a lot better than I do because you do it and you're the best in the industry at it. But back then, this might have been, I had to do the math, but this is the new point day. So this might have been 10, 15 years ago. I had a lot of realtors say to me, I'm not going to deal with this social media stuff. I run my ad in the paper. People know me. I've got my billboard. And now if you look at how well the real estate industry has embraced social media, the good ones they own it. I mean, they're really, as you guys know, you've taught a lot of them. And if you look back on that, how many of them back then didn't want any part of it? I think crypto and blockchain is a lot like that now. You have a lot of people who just throw their hands up and say, I don't know anything about it. Don't want anything to do about it. The thing that I would tell realtors all the time is there's two types of buyers and sellers that lean into cryptocurrency. One is the intellectually curious-minded people. And two is the wealthy. And I would encourage realtors that if you're going to just basically say, I don't want to deal with wealthy people, I don't want to deal with intellectually curious people, then you're okay not learning about crypto and blockchain. But if you do think that either one of those are your target markets, I would do a couple things. One is I would go to property.com. We have a crypto certification course that if you want to take the classes, you become crypto certified, then you can use the crypto certification in marketing. We have bi-weekly calls with ongoing education. So we try to train agents and help them through that process. If you use the code ADAM20, you get 20% off of that, ADAM20. That's the first step I would take. The second step I would take is I'd go to Coinbase or some other exchange. I'm not FTX out of Miami. And I'd take $20, $30, maybe even $100 if I'm feeling it. And I would open up my own digital crypto account. Yeah, it's a digital account. It's kind of close to a wallet. If you want to put up a MetaMask wallet, you can. And then I'd take the $100 and I'd put maybe $10 in Bitcoin, $10 in Ether, $10 in property token, whatever you might want to put it in. And just look at it, watch it, feel it, absorb it. I can promise you after opening that account and reading their daily email, within 2 weeks, you'll have a pretty decent understanding of, okay, I kind of see how this works. And the other thing I would focus realtors is don't get hung up on the technology, get hung up on the psychology. And what I mean by that is when I tell you that things go on blockchain and they're foolproof or immutable, don't worry about the 300,000 nodes across the chain on Ethereum that have to validate the data and how mining data works and having the coins. Don't worry about that. Just the psychology is when you put things on blockchain, everybody can see it. It's immutable. It's foolproof. Once it goes on chain, it's always there. And that's what we try to get the realtors to not get hung up on the psychology, but just think about the technology. We just think about the psychology of it.
How long does that take for somebody to be completely like me. I'm thinking I'm definitely gonna go to an upcoming conference, learn about the technology. I'm gonna have my kids learn about it. But like, how much time should someone invest into at least being able to speak the lingo and be able to talk about all these
Well,
things?
if I'm a realtor, I take the property certification after the 6 classes. You know, 100% of what you need to know about blockchain and crypto to be able to sell a house.
There you go.
And that's a bit of a shameless plug, but it's true. It starts off with something so simple as what is crypto, what is blockchain, all the way to class 6. We're talking about how to tokenize and distribute ownership of commercial and residential buildings, and how you can use blockchain to trade ownership. So fractional ownership, tokenization of ownership. So it starts off slow, it ends well, it ends strong. It has an exam at the end of it. We also just launched our own title and escrow company here in the country. So anybody out there who has a crypto buyer and seller, obviously that's our forte. We also handle traditional deals as well. But if you want to give us a shot for your crypto buyers and sellers, we operate in all 50 states. So anybody wants to reach out to me, we can handle that as well.
Beautiful. Alex, are you going to get into crypto?
Yes, sir.
I would like to add that it's a very safe mechanism. And my first question when we first met with Adam, it was like, well, now with everything that's going on in the world, someone is going to start buying crypto and hiding their money. No, it's not. It's not happening like that. That is as clear as a day, and it's probably safer than any funds in the checking or savings account or investment account. Is that correct, Adam?
It's a safe long-term investment. I think if you park money in Ether and Bitcoin from a long-term perspective, you're going to be okay, long-term. But this is what I tell people: the phase in crypto to get rich quick is gone. So don't come into crypto thinking you're going to get rich quick, because none of us did that are not really sharp or really lucky to get in early. If anybody's ever,
you mentioned that woman, that the family that they bought that first house with their crypto, they're probably one of those people that invested earlier and they didn't lose their wallet.
they did not. She did not lose her wallet. She invested early. She was smart. She got in early. But listen, at this point, if anybody's trying to sell you a coin or a token, don't buy it. If anybody is trying to get you to put a bunch of money in any sort of crypto account, don't do it. Okay. The phase for getting rich quick has passed. Don't put your money into any crypto that you haven't researched thoroughly, that you feel passionate about. And only, if you do research a token or a coin that you like, they all have, it's like a stock. They have kind of a business plan of why they're going to be successful. They have reasons why they've built this utility token. Dig into it through Coinbase, dig into it, what their kind of ethos, what their mission is. And if you believe in that, invest a little bit of money. But it's a lot like buying stocks. I'll give you a good example is, in 1995, we knew that the internet was going to be big. But if you'd have put all your money into, homes.com, you'd have went bankrupt 3 times, because homes.com was bought and sold 3 times before it is what it is now. You would have lost all your money on Ask Jeeves. So just because we know crypto and blockchain is the next wave, that doesn't mean you should just blindly sink a bunch of money into it, because there's a lot of nuance to it.
Perfect. So you definitely want to have your education, and I think it's important. Like Adam, you're offering your guidance. People can contact you, ask questions, get support. That's great. I think that's huge. Tell us, like, what's the latest? What are the current projects you guys are currently headed? What's in the works?
Yeah, the press release just came out today with the first kind of crypto blockchain centric title company to launch across the country. So we're really excited about that. There are certain states where we actually handle the transaction ourselves. Certain states we have reputable partners that we push to. So that part is exciting. The NFT process in terms of buying and selling homes, we have 1,000 homeowners on the wait list. So we're really excited about that. Our we're launching a new metaverse course for agents who want to learn about the metaverse and try to help buyers and sellers navigate the metaverse. We're going to launch our metaverse course in the next few weeks, which the realtors have had an unbelievably high amount of interest in. I've been very surprised on that. So we are constantly evolving, growing, trying to stay ahead of the curve and educate realtors and brokers on all things emerging technology.
I think that's great. So, and do you have any additional comments, Mr. Alex Montalenti?
I want to ask Lucy, since you've interviewed Adam a few times, what's your biggest takeaway after speaking to him, learning about all of this? Anything that you're implementing in your life or anything that you learned that was a big takeaway?
Well, I totally agree with what Adam was saying. You have to study, you have to research, you have to understand, and that's what I'm trying to do now. My husband, unfortunately, is not interested. I am excited. I am reading all kinds of articles. I'm joining webinars. I personally think it is our future. I encourage agents to look into it. As a matter of fact, I did the presentation the other day, and one of the agents already took your certification, Adam. And she's saying that she's still not very clear of what she's supposed to do with that certification and how she's going to use it. But the fact that she has it, it's so impressive that both buyers and sellers want to deal with her because they feel like this particular agent took an extra step to learn what's going to happen tomorrow. And obviously she does have a general understanding, and so I think it's amazing, and I do encourage all the agents to look into it and to put one more certification on their business card, on their digital business card.
Yeah, I mean, from a digital marketing standpoint, to be certified in this, to understand it, to even have the language about it on the front page of your website, right, on your digital business card, on your social media marketing. I mean, that's something that no other agents are really putting out there. It's definitely unique. It's definitely trending. It's relevant, and real transactions are happening on this platform. So, I mean, I challenge any realtors out there to really take it on and put it in your marketing too.
Yeah, I always say this story to people, being a realtor is not easy. Not only do you have to know your real estate market, not only do you have to navigate that daily, now they have to deal with a lot of people at very high emotional levels of their life, whether it's the new house, selling a house, death, divorces. You also have to be really good at marketing. Like, not only can you be really good at your job, you can be like the best realtor in the world. If you have bad marketing, you're just not, so it's this really weird dichotomy. It's funny in the sense that people think it's easy, and it's extremely tough, because if you don't have great marketing, there's no one who cares if you didn't get a closing that last month. No one cares if you didn't eat. Like, you've got to kind of hunt and kill and then prepare the meal and then clean the dishes. It's a really stressful job. I don't think realtors get enough credit for how much that goes into building a successful real estate business.
Yeah, I mean, I always say you're only as good as your last deal. I had a realtor on a webinar recently, and I said, how are you doing with your digital presence? She's like, I've been in the business for 35 years. I was like one of the most well-known realtors in my area, and now social media has killed my business.
That's not funny.
Yeah, and it's like real for her, because she's losing business to other realtors that are on social media.
She didn't evolve.
Like, the time is going to come when a realtor could lose a deal because they don't have the knowledge about Bitcoin or NFT, and the person coming to buy the home wants to do the transaction in Bitcoin or NFT.
There was a time in real estate you could buy your way to volume. You took a whole Sunday ad out in the Sunday paper. You bought 3 or 4 pages in Homes and Land, and you just sat back and your phone started to ring. It's much more nimble and aggressive now. And I think really smart realtors, they do use the crypto certification to attract like-minded buyers and sellers. And also, there's a weird stigma, whether it's right or wrong. People hear that you're crypto certified or you're blockchain certified. They tend to think you're smarter than you really are. And I don't know if it's what that reason is, but really good realtors learn about it, but then they also take that and they propel it to get themselves in the conversation with like-minded buyers and sellers.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So definitely we encourage all of our listeners to contact you, give us again the instructions. How can they best sign up, get started, get themselves some education there?
Yeah, obviously property.com, click on crypto certification under the products, type in the code Adam20. I'm always looking to grow my LinkedIn network. Adam Brown at Property. I'd love to connect with any realtors. I need a little help there, so that would be great. And then anything we can do. And my email is just adam@property.com. So if anybody has any questions or if they need any help or they want to talk title and escrow, we'd love to help them.
Well, thank you so much, Adam, for being on the podcast. This was definitely very inspiring and exciting. We hope to have you again in the future, talk about some of the new developments, or perhaps even talk about how some of our RG followers decided they got the education and what kind of results they're getting for themselves.
Yeah, no, kudos to you guys for helping people with their social digital presence. I've had several brokers and realtors that you guys come very highly recommended. So kudos to you for helping grow those agents. And thanks, Lucy, for facilitating this.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Thanks,
Take
guys.
care.
Thank you.